Thanks for being with us on Your Retirement TV. I'm Brad Johansson with Sam Duell and Andi Schooler-Duell from Duell Financial Strategies. Always great to be with you guys.
Yes.
Likewise.
We're always kind of adjusting, aren't we? Certainly the Fed has always been adjusting. So we go through a horrible 2022.
Yep.
A lot of people lost a lot of money and a lot of confidence in 2022. And then inflation begins to rise in 2023. And the Feds have been trying to play with all of the numbers to adjust inflation, to prevent a recession. Sam, take me through what you think the Reserve has done, good and bad, and where we are and why we should be concerned about what they're doing at this point.
Well, you know, the challenge with the Federal Reserve is, one thing, it's unelected officials. It's not even a legitimate agency. It hasn't been. There's many stories about the Federal Reserve going back many, many years about the reason it was formed. But every recession, every bad economic event that there's been basically in history has been directly caused by the Federal Reserve, because they're constantly manipulating, and they're artificially manipulating things. They don't allow market forces to do what market forces are going to do. They're always trying to control something. The reality is that the need for a Federal Reserve, the need for the Federal Reserve boards, has been gone for decades. There's absolutely zero need for the Federal Reserve. But all of the problems we're having right now, they've been created. They've been totally and completely created by politicians and by the Federal Reserve, because we went through a period for years of artificially low interest rates. Mm-hmm. Basically, we can remember that when you couldn't go to the bank and buy a CD or anything like that because interest rates were basically zero. Well, that's not natural. It's never been natural. And then the problem is the Federal Reserve and the politicians painted themselves into a corner. They got themselves into the zero and in some cases even negative interest rate territory, and now they've got to try to get back to what is normal. It's normal to have interest rates that are 5 or 6%. There's nothing abnormal about that. It's the way that it should be. Money shouldn't be free. There should be a cost to borrowing money, but the economy got so hot. Now they're trying to cool it down, and because they're essentially ineffective without creating tremendous amounts of damage, now they're causing the damage.
We always talk about fear.
Yeah.
Everybody comes in fear, and if you're watching the manipulation of the economy, then there's even greater fear as people are coming in. Is there a right to be fearful about, I've got to do something towards the end of the year, Andi, because I don't know what the Feds are going to do, or I don't know where the numbers are going to be?
I think for most of our clients or most people that come in, yes, there's fear and trepidation. I think it has creating a plan and having tools within your planning structure or your assets can make a marked difference in how you feel about what's going on out there. And so I think it comes down to, do not stick your head in the sand. Get in contact with somebody who can provide you with some tools, provide you with some information, provide you with things that are actually going to help you through whatever's going on in the market, because we don't have control over what the Feds are doing. And that can be very scary, I think, for a lot of people. So just making sure that you really have someone that has your back, that's taking care of your needs, and making sure that you have your assets where they need to be to provide you with what you need in retirement.
Sure. Well, the predicting game starts to be a big thing as well. What's it going to do? And you may have an advisor who goes, I know exactly where it's going to go. That's your trouble spot. But if we are in the inflation situation that we're in right now, what should people be doing in coming to you to adjust to what the inflation is doing, up or down at this point?
Well, the first thing is no knee-jerk reactions. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater because interest rates are going up. Interest rates going up in some ways are good. You know, there's parts where it's good. There's parts where it's not so good. But what you should have, that's why we talk over and over and over about a plan. When you set up a plan from the very beginning, that plan needs to have guardrails on it. There needs to be parameters set on that plan to say, okay, we expect it to perform within this range, from here to here. That way you have something that you can make a decision on relative to reality, not relative to fear, not relative to something, some moron politician said because they want to get reelected. You have now a plan that's based in reality. So just make sure that it has guardrails on it, that there's reason to be able to look at this and say, okay, is it doing what it's supposed to be doing given the situations? Ignore the Federal Reserve. Ignore the next time that Joe Biden falls off of a stage. Ignore Trump's tweets, whatever. That's all short-term noise, and it's nothing more than noise. If you're only planning on being retired for, 45 days, well, then get real concerned about what's happening today. But if you're planning on being retired for 20 or 25 years, this is nothing more than this is just a blip on the radar screen. So having the right mindset, thinking about this in the right way, thinking in the right directions, it's absolutely critical to have a successful retirement plan.
Is there a mindset that I should be adjusting if I like risk, I'm a high-risk guy, or I'm a no-risk guy? In the short term, long term, should there be an adjustment as we look at plans on how risky I should be in this economy?
There can be different buckets of money that you have different places. So instead of having all of it Mach 3 hair on fire or all of it 100% zero no risk, you can have dabbles where you've got stuff in different places that is, this money is, bulletproof, right? This money is more Mach 3 hair on fire. We have a client that calls it his toys and candy money because he likes to tinker. So that's great. Like whatever floats your boat, but don't put everything in one place. That's where we talk about the illusion of diversification we find so often in traditional growth and accumulation portfolios that come into us, where they look like they have a lot of typically mutual funds and they have all these different names, except they're all basically doing the same thing. And so it's this illusion of diversification. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff, I've got a lot of names, but you don't have a lot of different things going in different directions.
It gets very singular when you start to do that. It looks like it's something, and it's really, really not.
Yes. And so there's, correlation matrix and all that stuff. But essentially all it says is that how aligned are all of your funds? So if the market goes up, great, all those funds are going to go up, or the market's going to go down, all of those funds are going to go down. So making sure that you actually have different asset classes instead of just a lot of different funds. You want to be very diversified in that regard.
This is one of those things, I know, Sam, that's in the book. We have the book sitting on the set. Tell us about purpose determines placement.
Well, I did this back during the pandemic was when I wrote that book. And the reason why I did it was because we weren't able to do our public events. I mean, those of you that have seen us in public, we do a lot of those things. They're all educational. They're just to educate people. So what I did was said, well, then I'll just write the book, because the book is educational as well. So we wrote the book. We've gotten rave reviews on the book. Number one compliment we probably get on this book is that it's so easy to read, that it's written in English. It's not written in broker speak. So people are able to understand it. I think people have an appreciation for that. Excuse me. Also wrote it with that title very specifically in mind, Purpose Determines Placement, because what I have found through the years, I mean, over 2 decades now, is that people lose contact with their money. They lose contact with their retirement savings. And they're so focused on the minutia of, whatever's going to come out of Jerome Powell's mouth, or they're focused on the minutia of, them, bringing Dianne Feinstein in on a stretcher so she can do her final vote. They get so involved in that minutia of stuff that's emotional that they completely detach themselves from the money. And at the end of the day, they don't have a purpose. The money doesn't have a purpose. The money doesn't have a job. So we just want to educate people and say, look, every decision you make in regards to retirement, you need to have a specific purpose behind that. I want to do this. The first question you have to ask yourself is, why? Why do I want to do that? And then if we can answer why, well, I want to do that because, okay, that makes sense. But then we have to go to, what will be the positive result for you if you do that? So,
how do I get the book, you ask? It's free. If you set up an appointment with Sam and Andy, this is yours. And all of the questions are answered within. And sometimes you go, I don't know what questions to ask. Sam's just saying, what's your why? Do you have a toys and candy bucket all set? Or are you just hair on fire right now? Let's help you answer that. The book is free. The appointment is free. The plan is free so that you can find your purpose. Call right now, 866-203-7486. Let's create a retirement with purpose for you. We'll be right back.
the first thing is that it's a very open, inviting,
You know, I don't want to use the cliche family atmosphere, but we want people to make financial decisions in a comfortable environment for them. That's always been our #1 goal.
And I think that's the thing that it makes it easier out here is just they want to make sure that they can count on the plan that we've drawn up for them and that there's a systematic way and approach that we're going to go about getting them through retirement.
We believe very much in doing business the old-fashioned way. I mean, we're quite conservative. We live our lives that way. So we insist on answering the phones, talking to people eye to eye. Handshake still means something with us. And then the second thing is we stress that you need to be a fit. We're going to spend a lot of years together getting you through your retirement and making sure that you're okay. So we believe very much that you need to understand that we have your back, and you need to understand that you have to be comfortable with us, but we have to be comfortable with you too. So it's not that we become selective, but we find that our clients, we believe, that come to us from television or from radio or they've seen us speaking publicly, we believe that they've made a determination that we are a fit that they were looking for. I think Andy would tell you that we hear every day from people that come in, wow, I wish I would have met you, insert the blank, because this just feels right. So we believe very much in that.
I always have to smile as we go back to that because in being in that spot, that's Sam and Andy's happy place, and that's kind of what we're looking towards. Here's my question, but believe it or not, because I saw all sorts of stuff when I was out there.
Yeah.
What's that yellow machine that you have right next to you? That's called what?
That's a cat. That's a
skid steer.
It's a skid steer, what we would call a skid
It's a
steer.
skid steer.
Or a track steer, yeah.
Of course it is. This is a spot where you put it in. I went
It's
to break.
a toy.
It's a toy in your toy and candy, although it's a very useful toy for you guys out there.
Often used toy.
I said the book's free, the visit's free, the plan is free.
Yeah.
And somebody says, I don't believe you. Can you take me through what coming in and having a free complimentary session is all about with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess free is kind of a relative term,
Because there's always something attached.
Well, it's going to cost you your time, obviously. If you're going to come into either Green Bay or you're going to come into Appleton, it's going to cost you time to get there. The meeting's probably going to take, I don't know, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. So you're going to have an investment in this. You're going to have a time investment in it. You're going to have an emotional investment in it. We're going to ask you to do some homework before you come in for the appointment. So you're going to have to invest some time in that and to give it some real conscious thought about what it is that you're trying to get accomplished. So in that regard, no, it's not free. But what we're trying to allude to people is, look, I'm happy to educate people by giving them the book. That's why I wrote it. I didn't write it to keep it in boxes in our storage closet. I wrote it to educate you with. That's the purpose of the thing. And then secondarily, there's no sales pitch. There's no agenda here. It's like, would we like for you to become our client? Absolutely. If you're a fit for us and we're a fit for you, we love having new clients.
Yeah.
That's the way business works. It is a business, after all. But we do not go into it with that approach. We do not go into it with the approach of saying, we've got a quota and we have to get this many new clients in this month and we've got to sell this many products. We're independent. We're a totally independent fiduciary, registered investment advisory firm. When you come in, if you are a fit for us, and if we are a fit for you, and if we can provide some value to people, well, then we're all about having a conversation about whether you would want us to be your financial advisor or not. But these things are complementary. The book, the plan, the meetings, all of that sort of stuff, it's entirely complementary to you. And post-meeting, if we're not the right firm for you, that's okay. We're not going to inundate you with emails. You're not going to be on our forever mailing list where, you basically just have to finally do deletion and unsubscribe. We don't work that way. We understand how you feel about things. We understand that people are tired of a sales pitch. People are tired of the whole Wall Street broker speak. You got to buy this, you got to buy that. People don't have to do anything, Brad.
Okay, you've used some buzzwords, Andy, that I want you to kind of, because you said we're independent, we're fiduciary. Yeah. And a lot of people are coming in and saying, well, I'm with a guy and I'm not sure I want him to know that I'm coming in to try and get a second opinion. Yeah. Give me an explanation what makes you different as independent and fiduciary, Andy.
Well, we, again, like Sam said, we don't work for anybody except you or our clients. And that is so different than, I think, the big box stores that have quotas and agendas, and the company dictates to them what they can utilize as far as tools. And that's the big difference I see, is that when people come in and sit down with us, there is an agenda. There is not a sell you something piece. It's a problem. This is a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, in honest truth, retirement is a huge, massive 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle that we have to start gathering data and start building our sides and work from the outside in to kind of formulate that picture to make sure we understand what you're looking for. We understand what our clients actually need their money to do for them, because it's not our money, it's your money. And so consequently, you have to have a plan that's going to work for you and your family and your loved ones and get passed on. And however you want it to work, it's your picture that we have to help you create. And so that's different for everybody. It is not the same jigsaw puzzle ever.
As people are walking in on that jigsaw puzzle, Sam, you always like to tell me that we desperately need to come up with a plan to combat taxes.
Yes.
And a lot of people walking in are going, well, my taxes are my taxes. How are you going to develop a plan to combat my taxes?
Yeah. Well, it's all about spending. It's about how do you spend the money, when do you spend the money, where do you spend the money from. I am more focused on and concerned about the damage that taxes could do to people's funds in retirement than I am the market. I spend more time studying taxes than I do the market. I spend more time studying investment psychology than I do the market, because the market is totally uncontrollable. You have zero control over what the stock market does. You have zero control over the stupidity of politicians or the Federal Reserve or anybody else. All you can control is what your expectations are and what type of a plan you have. And as I said before, working within the parameters of that plan. But the reason why I get so concerned about taxes is because people I don't know how many thousands of events I've done over my career where I've talked to people. And I've asked the same question in every public presentation I've ever done, where I ask people, I say, when it comes to taxes in the future, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to be the same? Do you think they're going to go down? Or do you think they're going to go up? Brad, what do you think the consensus answer has been 100% of the time? I've never, ever had anything other than this answer, and they said they're going to do what?
I'm not guessing down.
You guessed correctly.
Everything's going up.
It's up. So my philosophy then is, okay, we know that the vast majority of this money we're working with here is in your 401k. Now we've rolled it over, it's become an IRA. Money's never been taxed. The tax man cometh. You've made a promise to the tax man to say, if you don't ever tax the money that went into this, if you don't tax the money that's grown in this, when I take it out, you can then tax me at my then ordinary income levels. So if as a consumer, especially a retired consumer, if we believe in our heart of hearts that taxes are going to be higher in the future than they are today, then I would argue you need to make every financial decision that you have today, especially regarding your retirement income, with the thought that I'll pay less in taxes today than I will if I wait 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case might be. But see, this is where people get short-sighted on it.
Yeah.
And they think, well, I can't do anything about taxes. You absolutely can. You can understand taxes. You can work with an advisor that understands how taxes work. You can work with an advisor that's not afraid to say, you need to think about this. This doesn't make any sense for you to do it this way. But unless you're working with an advisor that's independent, that has no agenda, that's free to, talk about things that they need to talk about and free to refer you somewhere else if you need to be referred somewhere else, you're never going to get those answers. And you're never, ever going to get any straight answers about taxes, because we find that most financial advisors, this is the excuse. The excuse is, we are not tax consultants. We are not qualified to give tax advice. We aren't tax consultants either. We do not pretend to nor claim to be tax consultants. But the tax code, as it applies to withdrawals from IRAs, withdrawals from 401ks, how that's going to be taxed, it's no mystery. And it ain't that hard to figure out where should this money come from in order for you to not go from a 12% tax bracket to a 22 to 24, so on and so forth. That's just basic math is all that's involved in doing that. But the advisor or the broker will use the excuse, well, we're not qualified to answer that question. Well, you're certainly qualified to educate.
Well,
nothing wrong with educating.
And I don't see any reason why. I mean, we oftentimes will have conversations with CPAs and attorneys for our clients to make sure that all of us are on the same page, because wouldn't you want all of those people that are really important to be on the same page? and educated the same way. I mean, that to me makes the most sense. It's like, if there's something that we do need to discuss with a CPA, we're happy to talk to your CPA.
And the CPAs appreciate it.
They
the tax
do.
preparers. I had it recently, it was just in the last year or so, where I was talking with a tax preparer for one of my clients, and he made the comment, he's like, Sam, I so appreciate that you people educate people the way you do. He listens to my radio show, he watches this on television, but he's like, I so appreciate that you talk about those things, and I appreciate the fact that you interface with me when you're doing financial transactions for them, because in most cases, I'm the last person to know. The last person that knows that they've taken a large withdrawal from an account that's just totally blown up their tax bracket, it's totally blown up everything that they're doing. The broker never called me, so I could have told him, had he at least let me know, hey, let's not do it this way, let's think about doing it that way. But if the advisor, if the person that's working for people, if they do not volunteer to have a very good relationship with their tax preparer, well, they're getting shorted. They're totally getting shorted, and you're making a mistake working with somebody like that.
So wouldn't you like to have a team that works together? Doesn't it make sense? Because if you haven't been told that there are other people who can help you make that plan work for you, you're with the wrong people. Maybe it's time for a second opinion. We've talked about the book. The book is free. The appointment is free. And the complimentary plan, it's all free for you to make it work for you as a team. Call the number right now, 866-203-7486. We'd like to be on your team. We'll be right back.
I started in banking and was always pretty good at saving myself. And I think people out here have a much greater savings mentality, and they don't tend to live beyond their means. They will, live in the same house, drive the same car for a long time. They are much more forward-thinking, but for the most part, it's a very different philosophy about saving money and being prepared for retirement. I got frustrated working at the banks because the banks would tell me what I could and couldn't do, and that was a big frustration for me, is being told that I couldn't use something that was more appropriate for my clients. And so I ended up leaving banking and going out as an independent salesperson, and then took quite a while to get enough gumption up to start my own gig. But I guess I just felt like somebody needed to be out there helping and protecting people, especially women, from advisors that were not as upstanding as they should have been.
Thanks for being with us on Your Retirement TV. We're talking teamwork, and I know the radio shows are something that continue to run throughout Wisconsin. Share the stations and when we can hear you there.
Yeah, so weekends, we're on the two main radio stations for either the Fox Valley or for Green Bay. We're on WTAQ. And then we're also on WHBY. So you can go to, and I apologize my ignorance on this because I don't know what time we're on. I just know we're on the weekend.
You're going to be able to find us.
I don't listen to my radio show or watch the television shows for that matter. But if you just go to the website, duellstrategies.com.
Great.
That everything is on there. You can click on the media tab. And actually on the media tab, you can not only get what stations we're on for television, for radio. There's also the television shows are archived there, so if you're seeing us for the first time or whatever, and you're like, hey, I'd like to hear what these people have to say about things, just click on that archive tab and you can listen to other shows.
We have talked about that teamwork, Andi, and you have so many people now involved and continuing to spread that team. Are there people who are in disbelief that this is actually kind of a team thing, that it's me against you when they walk in the door sometimes?
I think that there's an element of that where
just apprehension.
Yeah, I mean, because let's face it, everywhere we go in life, someone is trying to sell you something. And so to have it not be salesy and pushy, and yes, there's tools at the end of the day that if you decide to work with us because we're a fit in both directions, great. But the whole process is so much more about education and making sure that you understand and that you're comfortable with the situation than it is about here's a product, here's a tool, you have to you have to do that. And I think there is a bit of disbelief that people are a little bit wary to begin with because they're not used to not being sold something.
Mm-hmm. Who do I trust?
Yeah. And so that becomes a major component. But I think that's something we get through pretty quickly is that, you know, that's just not the way we roll. It's not the way we live our life. It's not
Guaranteed walking in your office, it feels different.
Yeah.
And that,
We get that comment quite a bit, yeah.
And that teamwork has been, as you said, for more than 20 years, evolving in your office.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all about preparation. It's all about, you know, we do our own preparation and our own planning. Brad, you've been in broadcast
For a long
years.
time.
I mean, you're Emmy Award winner. You were the play-by-play voice for the Bengals. It's like, but you didn't just like get up Sunday morning when you had to do play-by-play for the Bengals and go, well, I wonder who they're playing today. No, you had already spent hours and hours researching who they were playing and knowing the players and knowing the stats and knowing all of that sort of stuff, because you have to paint a picture for that listener. They can't see the game, so you have to paint what's on the field for them. We do the exact same thing in retirement. It's almost like a play-by-play for retirement, because what we have to do is you're bringing us your stats, you're bringing us your information, your hopes, your dreams, your goals. You're bringing that to us, and then our job and our advisor's job is to take that raw information, that raw data, and paint you a picture that you can look at and go, oh, that's what retirement looks like. Oh, okay. Because if we can't help you visualize that, then we haven't done our job. And that you can't do that when your entire intent is to sell something. If you're in selling mode and it's like, I don't care what sort of a picture they see, I just got to sell them that variable annuity, right? No, that doesn't work.
This is where the independent and fiduciary comes in there as well.
There's where it goes back to the independent. That's what we love about being independent, is that we get to call the shots for you. We work for you. We don't work for the strip mall brokers. We don't work for those people. We work for you. So you bring us the information, we'll paint you the play-by-play picture, and then at the end of the day, it's up to you whether you want to go with the play-by-play or not.
And I know, Andy, you've said there's a lot of joy in seeing that picture get painted and seeing the reaction that we got a plan.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing just to see relief and smiles and, you know, just appreciation of what we've been able to accomplish, but it's more just the enjoyment of getting to say, yeah, this could be our retirement, and we have a way of getting there. And I think that's critical.
Let's get on the team. Share the joy. We're so glad you're with us today. The book is free. The appointment is free. The plan is free. Let's find some purpose for you in retirement. 866-203-7486. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.